Hey, everybody, David Essel here. So glad to be able to be here and to talk to you. You know, with all this social distancing, it's incredible that we can still reach millions of people on a daily basis. I mean, our YouTube channel is blowing up and we've got lots of people looking for help. And I want to be an individual in your life, if you so desire, to give you ideas and thoughts on how to deal with the coronavirus, the pandemic, et cetera, in a way that is much more grounded. It's easy, especially when we look at our finances, when we look at relationship stress and struggle, arguments start to increase between family members. There's all kinds of anxiety that happens when we're in a situation like this. The randomness of this universe is so incredible. The world is filled with just random events on a regular basis. And this one is one of the largest random events I think this world has ever seen. How many times can we say that an event that's happened in China is also destroying Italy, the United States, other countries? Like, it just doesn't happen very often, does it? So I want to talk today about anxiety. Christine, great to have you with us. I want to talk about anxiety. How do we deal with it? How are you dealing with it right now? The very most important thing I can offer to start with is grab your pen and paper. If you want to type, go ahead and type. But I want you to start to write about what you're anxious over. What are the things that you're concerned about? Is it money? Is it your job, a career? Is it you're concerned about family members who might have compromised immune systems or maybe older or might be very young? What is it that's creating anxiety? The very first step in our healing process would be to write about what's creating your anxiety, right? It's like we need to be able to say, hey, this is what I'm nervous about. This isn't a negative. It's actually a way to process emotions. In therapy, this is what I do with my clients every day of the year, right? I ask them to talk about things that they're uncomfortable talking about. I ask them to share things that they're uncomfortable sharing. That's the processing of emotion. When you write about this pandemic and you say, I'm really nervous about the fact that I may not have a job, or if I own a company that my business may go under, that's not being negative. That's just being real. And then what we need to do is say, how do we handle this anxiety? So step number one, let me go through this easy, and feel free to share this on your pages so other people can benefit too. But step number one is to write about the specific things that make you anxious, nervous about this virus that's going around the world. That's step number one. Step number two now is going to be, what are we going to do with these anxious thoughts? What are we going to do with this anxiety? How are we going to process it? So many times, you've heard this statement a million times. It's not what happens to us, it's how we react that creates either an opportunity to heal or an opportunity to stay stuck. There's a lot of people, and some of them are my clients right now, that are stuck in this extremely high level of anxiety. Now, it's not bad to be anxious over something out of our control like this. It's not bad to be anxious over something you can't see. That makes sense, right? You can't see the damn virus. You have no idea if the person 6 feet away from you, if you're paying attention to social distancing, has it or not. We don't know. And if they're coughing, of course, something like that, you might guess, but there's no way to know. So when you have something you can't see, you have no idea when it might be in your city, in your house, in your workplace, wherever it might be, that creates anxiety, and it's okay to be anxious. I want you to have the freedom to feel your anxiety and not to say, oh, I shouldn't feel it. Also, I don't want you taking it on the other end of the spectrum and constantly talking about it. So let's go back to step one. We write about our anxiety. What are those things that create that feeling of being out of control? Because all of us are out of control. This is so random. No one has any control at all. If you can accept that you don't have control, that's a great start. And then we have to say, but what am I going to do with these anxious feelings? What am I going to do with this worry about finances? What am I going to do about the fact that my parents live across the country and they're older and their immune system is compromised and I can't get there? Are you with me? So when we deal with life on life's terms, when we deal with the anxiety and write about it, it's not that we're going negative in nature. You know, I've seen some posts that just really drive me crazy. Some posts on social media that are saying, during this pandemic, you should be thinking only positive thoughts. It's like, that's stupid. Okay, I'm sorry. That's just absolutely freaking ridiculous. Because why? What happens to thoughts that we submerge? So if you want to stay positive all the time and say, I'm going to be great, I'm never going to get this virus, my business is going to blow up. What happens to the underlying emotions? The anxiety, the nervousness, the fear. what happens to it? Do you think they go away? They don't. The submerged emotions actually get roots and they grow and they get stronger. They don't get weaker because we're not paying attention to them. They get weaker when we process them. They get weaker when we write about them. They get weaker when you have one close friend or a professional, a counselor, a minister, a priest, a rabbi, a coach that you're sharing your emotions with. It shouldn't be everyone, right? Wilbur, I got you. Wilbur just said this is the hardest thing he's ever faced because he likes being in control. I'm a control freak just like Wilbur. Absolutely. I want everything my way. I want it on my timeline. I realize that's fantastical thinking. I still want it. And then all of a sudden we get to something like this and we realize we have no control. So we have to surrender to the experience. Do you know what that means? When we surrender to the experience is that we raise our hand, as Wilbur and I need to do right now, and say, I need to surrender my ability to control in this pandemic because I have no control. But what can we do? So now let's go to the next thing. We're talking about your anxiety. How do we deal with it? We need to share it with a professional, maybe your partner, maybe a best friend, but please don't do what so many people are doing. Don't share your anxiety over and over and over again. I'd rather have you write about it to process it than to keep talking about it. So we have to look at it from that perspective, understanding that this randomness is out of our control. But what is in our control? So we could write down what's in my control. What's in my control is the amount that I talk about this. What's in my control is how I take care of my sanitization with my washing of my hands and keeping distance from people. That is all in my control. And so when you write down what's in your control, let's focus on what is in your control. That's where peace of mind comes from. Jules just said amen. And I want you to feel comfortable. Share with me. If you have something, Wilbur, I appreciate your honesty more than you could ever believe. Jules, thank you for your support. If you have something you want to share, if you're nervous, if you're anxious, if you're afraid, share it right now. Go ahead and do typing to me, okay? Share it right now. If you found a solution, if you found something that helps you with your anxiety, share it. Let people know what you've done. I'm going to give you a couple more tips of anxiety right now. Number one, of course, is writing what you're anxious about. Number two is what are the solutions? Well, I don't have any control over this virus, so let me let go of worrying about it. I do have control over washing my hands, so let me wash my hands every 20 minutes. Right now, we have real solutions. We have real solutions that we're talking about. Now, what about your self-care? Have you thought about it? Are you exercising? I don't care if it's walking an hour a day, walk an hour a day. Are you reading inspirational work, philosophical work? Have you ever thought about Googling, how can I handle things that are not within my control? How do I handle events out of my control? That might not be a bad thing to Google right now, to give your brain something to feed on that will help us through this pandemic, right? I'm going to ask you, what the definition we use for faith is belief in the yet unseen. Okay, that's what we use for faith. As a minister, I talk about this all the time, belief in the yet unseen. It's easy to have great faith when things are going good. It's really hard to have great faith right now when we're in this challenge, economic challenge, health challenge, etc., right? But I want you to try your best. I want you to read. I want you to listen to. If it's scripture, other motivational speakers, it's great. But I want you to have faith. We are going to work through this. Yes, there's going to be hiccups. Yes, our government's going to make mistakes. Yes, our government's going to do great stuff. We are going to move through it. It's early on in the stage. This could be 30 days. It could be 6 months. It could be a year. We don't know that. Let go of that. Throw it out of your brain. Understand that with hope, belief in the yet unseen, we're going to make it through. We're going to come out on the other side. And if we're smart, we're going to learn from this. Earlier today, I did a Facebook Live and I said, do you remember 2008, 2009, 2010, some of the worst years of my life? I'll tell you that right now, financially for sure. What did we do back then that we don't want to do today? Were we procrastinating back then with our self-care when we should have been taking care of ourselves? Then don't procrastinate with your self-care today. Meditate, pray, walk, exercise, take care of yourself, eat clean. This is a time when anxiety raises its head that many people have a tendency to overeat, to eat junk food, and that's to medicate the brain. Over drink, over vape, over smoke, medicate the brain, right? I want your brain fresh and out. And let me tell you this, If you're an entrepreneur, if you own a small business, I am offering, because of this pandemic, free coaching, counseling for your business. We'll talk about marketing, branding, advertising. We'll talk about price reductions. We'll talk about everything to keep your business moving forward. That's free. Go to talkdavid.com and we tell you how to sign up like that. If you're dealing with something else out of from a business perspective, anxiety, anger, frustration, whatever it might be, and you need help with it, our 30-minute Jumpstart counseling session is going to be half price for the next several months. It's very inexpensive. Go to talkdavid.com and sign up for it, okay? Those are two ways that we can help. One is free and one is half price. We're going to do everything we can to lift as many millions of people that we possibly can with our work. I would love for you to do the same. Let's be in this together. Let's really work together. I'm going to do as much as I can. I would love for you to do the same. If it means you check in on your neighbors, check on your neighbors. If it means that you're posting positive stuff, post positive stuff. We're going to work through this. We're going to make it through. I'll be doing Facebook Lives regularly, okay, as just a way to help people to heal. TalkDavid.com is the website. Stay grounded, stay strong, stay based in faith. It doesn't mean you won't have anxiety, worry, and nervousness, but the faith is going to really help us get through all of those, okay? I love each and every one of you. I really do. I want to work really hard for all of you. Feel free to share this video on your wall so that your friends can get this data and information too, okay? We're going to make it, gang. We're going to make it. I'm David Essel. Have a beautiful day.